Yes, it's another Sunday in the month of February 2026. It's been a while, it's been a very long time. I have gotten to have a conversation with you, and it's a thrill to be back. I am so sorry for my absence. I've been away taking care of issues that needed my urgent attention. But here I am, boots on deck, back with the spotlights on, and just having this lovely conversation with you as usual. You know, here on your spotlight, we try to engage you, we try to have conversations that that educates, enlighten, with gist, with banter. And I'm so happy to be back. And you can feel it. I'm sure you can feel my presence back. I'm so happy to be back. Yes, I'm happy to be back. Yes, I'm just saying the back a lot, but here I am. Okay, the air in Abuja. Those of us in Abuja, let's just call it what it is. The air in Abuja, it's full with the reflection about the FCT elections. Yesterday there was an election in the FCT that happened, and if you're not aware of that, and across the city, you could sense people talking or thinking about elections, or people just talking about movements and saying, "Oh, why are they restricting our movement?" This whole thing started from Thursday evening, yes, getting building up on Friday. There was a circular or a broadcast message telling people that movement will be restricted for security reasons, so that people can vote, can move around and vote easily. So that's what brought this to a lot of people's dashboards, that there was an election. So yesterday there was an election in Abuja, and this evening we're not just going to talk. To be honest, we're not going to talk results. We're not talking about who won or who lost. We're going to talk about something deeper, what it means to still believe in Nigeria, how it is to be an active citizen, to still care and to still show up as a young person, as a citizen, as a young Nigerian. Now we start with the election seasons. Election does something to us. They remind us that we still have an opportunity to bring in new leaders, to vote, and to have a say in choosing who the people who are going to occupy the seats of power in our country. People queue under the sun, under the rain. In my experience, the previous elections, we even queued under the rain. There was music. There was a lot of things. A lot of people just waiting hours, just to select your leaders, for votes to be counted. And because deep down we believe that some things can still work. Deep down we hope for change. Deep down we pray and believe that this election will be that election that will bring positive and very big change to our country, Nigeria. But what happens after the voting ends? That's a question we should be asking ourselves. After the voting ends, what happened? What happens to that hope once the headlines fades away? Which a lot of people tend to go back to their businesses. A lot of people tend to go back to their work. A lot of people tend to go back to life as in general. Business as usual. We go back and no follow up as to what is happening. Yes, sometimes we pay attention to the news, especially with the tribunal cases or the swearing in or whatever is happening. But how involved are you? How active are you? Because being a citizen isn't something that we do once in every few years. It's not something that we come out and vote, and then after that everybody goes back into their cave or into their home. It's in the way you treat others. It's in the way you keep your world. It's in the way you pay attention to your community. It's in the way that you are active. It's in the way you ask the right questions. Because leadership starts small. You are a leader. You are a leader in your home. You are a leader in your place of work. You are a leader as a citizen. So in your compound, in your school, in your streets, in your homes, we are all leaders in one way or the other. So after the election, what's next? What do we do? Do we go back to life as usual, business as usual, or do we now follow up as to holding our leaders accountable, whether the person you voted for won or not? Let's say you're in the opposition. How active are you? How good of an opposition are you? Your party won. How are you holding your leaders, the leaders of your party who are in the political office, accountable? Yes, I said I was not going to talk about politics, but this evening we are talking about citizen participation. We are talking about being an active citizen beyond the ballot box. As a young Nigerian, the kind of lives that we should choose to live every day in this country, and the kind of hope that refuses to die even when things are hard, even when times are difficult. So let's be honest. 2026 has tested all of us. 2026 has tested us, and we are just in the month of February, month number 2. I've seen where, from January, if you pay attention to the headlines, it's been one event or the other. Previous episodes, it's been one event analyzed or dissected. something on the international scene, American troops on ground, insecurity everywhere. I mean, the year has tested us already, and I don't know if this sets the tone as to how the rest of 2026 is meant to look like, or it's just a temporary thing that maybe in the next 2 weeks, in the next 1 week, everything is going to go back to normal or even much better. But let's see how we go. Of course, I always encourage us to be hopeful, because when you're hopeless, I don't think there's any point of living or just anticipating anything anymore. The economy is still tight. That's one thing we have to talk. That's one thing we have to accept. Talking about 2026 dealing with us, the economy is tight. Prices of food are high. I mean, some people will say it has gone down, but for a lot of people, prices of food are still high. Rice, yam, gari. We've not even talked about. I mean, let's even talk about fuel prices. I've literally watched the price of fuel go up in my very eyes. Like, I get fuel at, let's say for instance, I got fuel at 5 naira on Monday. It was 5 naira. Tuesday I went, it was 7, and then Saturday I went, it was 10 naira. I'm like, what is happening? Inflation is hovering around 33%. The government says that everything is going well, and according to the latest reports, there are like policies that are going on well but the people on the streets are not feeling it. Personally, I'm not feeling it. Transport costs have doubled. Many families are cutting down to 1 meal a day. So sad, and yet life goes on. There's this thing about the resilience of a Nigerian that we just say we'll survive. Life goes on. Sometimes we complain, and then the next day we forgot that we were complaining yesterday, and then life goes on. But here's what's interesting. Through it all, Nigerians, especially we young Nigerians, are still creating ways to thrive. We are still creating opportunities to thrive, even with the tax law, even with the policies on ground, even with other difficult realities and circumstances we find ourselves. It's one thing I admire about us: the ability, the zeal, the energy to just keep pushing, to keep thriving. You go online and you see a lot of people just launching a thrift store. I have a friend who is launching a thrift store today. Shout out to Maureen. I mean, she has started this thing in Lagos. She shared her story with me, and I just saw on Instagram, I saw a very beautiful store, like empty, and then I'm like, whose page is this? When did I start following these people? And I realized that she's launching her store, a thrift store. So these are the things. These are young people showing up, still trying to push on that grind, irrespective of the harsh reality that we face in the country today. Teaching coding classes, teaching online classes, teaching lessons, starting a digital design business, or even running a small poultry farm. I talked about my brother some time ago, who has a poultry farm, who keeps pushing, who keeps striving. That's the spirit of a young, hardworking Nigerian. That's the spirit that we want to see. People showing up. It's not easy, but it's happening. These people show up every day. The fact that you wake up and you're above the ground and not under it, and you still make that conscious effort, that choice. You choose to hustle. You choose to create a business, to create an avenue to survive. Yes, some people will call it hand to mouth, but at the end of the day, these are still us, young Nigerians, showing up and pushing. It's difficult, but it's happening. We talk about leadership all the time, but the truth is, the average Nigerian youth is already leading. You are a leader. You listening to me today are a leader. I said this at the beginning of the show. You're a leader in your home. You're a leader in school. You're a leader in church. Wherever you're listening from, you are a leader. You're someone's role model. No matter how low you might think of yourself, there are people who look up to you. I listened to a podcast this morning, or was some days ago, and there was this thing that the guy said in the podcast. I think it was a motivational speech, and he said, sometimes if it was possible that they could swap realities, you understand that you're blessed a lot of times. If you sit down and deep down, retrospect, you realize that you're doing better. So leadership, leadership can happen at home. People are leading their families through hardship. People are leading their peers through creativity. People are leading communities through services. This is what we are talking about, not just leadership in political leadership. Leadership isn't just not for those in office. It's for those who show up and do the right thing even when no one is watching. So guys, what's your story? What's the reality? What are you going through? What's your story as a young Nigerian? What is going on? After the FCT election, let's even talk about that, for instance. How many of you were even aware that there was going to be election in the FCT some days ago? How many of you were even aware that FCT even does have elections annually, or sorry, not annually, like FCT has its elections. A lot of people don't know. Like I said, it was when the message started going around that people will realize that, oh, there's an election. And to them, it's not just about the election. It was about movement, destroy. How do they plan their day and move around? Okay, if I leave my house by 6 p.m. So it's not about, okay, there's coffee by 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. But nobody's thinking about how they are going to go to vote. A lot of people were actually thinking about how they are going to stock up for those few hours and then they just relax at home and chill. It has been on record. In fact, it is proven that the FCT has the lowest turnout when it comes to its elections. This is the FCT we are talking about. This is the seat of power. How aware are you? After the polling units in 2023, were you involved? After the last presidential election, the last governorship election, the last senatorial election, how involved were you? How aware were you of what is happening in the government? Not just criticizing. How much did you know? How much did you how many questions did you ask? These are fundamental things. Even as a hustler, you open your shop and everything. How many policies are you aware of guiding the business? How many grants do you know that you have access to, or loans? There's a lot happening. There's a lot going on. We've not even talked about insecurity. That's another conversation coming up. But there's a lot that's been happening on the news, and trust me, this evening's conversation is just centered on citizenship, our roles as young Nigerians, our roles as active citizens. What role have we played to ensure that we are creating a narrative, we are creating a community, we are creating a space to bring that reality of a better Nigeria, to bring in that reality of a better Nigeria? What role have we played? Today's conversation is not politics. It's retrospection. It's asking yourself beyond your house, beyond the school, beyond on Twitter, on X or Instagram, typing and banting. What role have you played as an active citizen? After the elections, what's next? How involved are you? What do you do? How active are you in your community? How less do you complain of the leaders that we have and take up the role of leadership even in your homes, in schools? What role have you played? How involved have you been? How current have you been in the activities that's happening? It's not just opening the phones. Yes, insecurity has been rocking the nation wild, but it's not just picking up the phone and looking at how they kidnap 30 people or 100 people. What other things do you know that you're aware of? Do you know the last bill the president signed? Do you know the current bill that the National Assembly is deliberating on? Do you know what's happening in the government, in your community? Do you know those things? Do you even know your local government chairman? Do you know your councillor? Do you know the person representing you in your state House of Assembly? And also in the National Assembly, who is representing you? Do you know you can recall those people? These are important questions you should ask yourself. And these are basic information, important things you should know as an active citizen, as a young Nigerian. It goes beyond going on X to banter. Of course, we have our real life issues, we have our problems. But also, the more aware we are, the more active we are, the more accountable we hold our leaders, the more grounds we have to hold them accountable for their actions, because we know the law, we know what they are doing, we know what is going on. You can recall them, the more pressure they will feel to do their jobs as leaders, as political leaders. Then that election will know that, okay, this person we voted in, or this person that won the election, this one that was declared winner by INEC, has a job to do. He's not just going there to make money the way we see it in the Nigerian reality. He's not just going there, is not just going there to elevate his or her lifestyle, but they know that they have a role to play. They know that they are governing people who know business, who know what to do. So that's the question we should be asking ourselves. What do we know? How involved are we? And I've used the FCT elections. Apart from the circulars that went around, how many of us were aware that there is going to be an election? How many of us were aware that XYZ people are contesting in each local government? Do you even know the local governments in the FCT? So these are very important questions we should ask ourselves. But then we go to the cost of hope. Move over to the cost of hope. And hope in Nigeria, hope in Nigeria is not cheap. It's very expensive. For you to be a Nigerian and hopeful, you're a very strong man or woman, and I salute you. To hope here costs something, your patience, your peace, and sometimes even your faith. That's how expensive hope is in Nigeria. Because when we look around, insecurity, unemployment, rising cost of fuel, food, standard of living, it's tempting to just give up and say, I don't want to do again. I just had a conversation with a friend of mine or a colleague, and she was like, sometimes she feels like giving up. She just feels like, I don't want to do again. I just want to shut down social media, shut down listening to the news, shut down everything because it's overwhelming. You have hope 1 minute, the next minute something pops up and you're like, what is the essence of believing in this nation? Personally, sometimes I just look at it, I'm like, well, why are we like this in this country? But here we are, you know, but we don't give up. A lot of us still don't give up. Because if you don't do it, nobody's going to do it for you. We complain, yes. We joke about this harsh reality. Some people might call it dark humor, but deep down, we still have to get up and move on. We still have to get up and go. That's the paradox of being Nigerian. That's the funny thing. That's the Nigerian reality. The mixture of frustration and faith. I mean, I don't even know how to go about this, but this is it. And I don't. It's just incredible. Hope in Nigeria is not cheap. After we've talked about all the elections, following up on what has been happening, trying to be an active citizen, being aware of what is happening, and then hoping for the best. It's not cheap. That's also the role of a citizen, being hopeful. You know that you know that, it can go wrong at any time, but you still decide to be like, let's go. You know, it's okay to want to give up sometimes. It's okay to make jokes. It's okay to be frustrated. But faith does not mean pretending that everything is fine. That's one truth you have to put it out there. Faith means choosing to believe that it will be fine eventually. That's the hope that we have. That if we keep doing our part, it will get better. It's not us being naive or being aloof of our realities. It's us knowing that if we do the right things, if we ask the right questions, if we know what we are supposed to know and do what we are supposed to do, then everything will be fine eventually. So hope maybe isn't a passive optimism. Maybe hope is just being active. Hope is being a citizen. Like I said, being a Nigerian is a mixture of frustration and then just the humor that comes with it. So hope at the end of the day is just being an active citizen. So it helps you keep your leaders in check. It helps us keep ourselves in check as active citizens, doing the right things, not jumping traffic lights, ensuring that we are part of community services. We ensure that our communities are safe. We report to the police stations, to the military people, to the security agencies where they have made platforms for us to to drop reports. Work together with them rather than condemn them and try to pick out the faults in them. Report cases. Ask the right questions. Recall your leaders if they are just sitting down there and not doing anything. That's hope being active. Because when we do our part, when we keep pushing and being active citizens, then the hope of a better Nigeria becomes a reality. It isn't just passive optimism at this point. It's being active. It's the work you put in when no one else believes it will pay off. But you just keep showing up. You open that business, you do what you have to do. You pay your taxes, you advertise your business, you follow rules and regulations, but also you use your platform and enlighten other people. But you also pay attention to the news. And how are you aware of the policies guiding your business? This is where hope pays off at the end of the day. It works when you put in it works when you put in the work, when no one else believes it will pay off, but you just do it anyways. You just keep pushing, you keep going on, you just keep advocating for that positive change. What more beautiful way can we not? I mean, what else can we do? We can't carry out our arms. We can't kill ourselves. But we just have to keep showing up. We have to keep asking the right questions. We have to keep doing what we have to do. It feels like I'm repeating myself all over and all over again. Yes, let it be like I'm doing, but I want it to sink in. So today's conversation is not about opening phone lines and calling or just banting, or yes, those times will always be there. But today I came with the mindset of reminding you this election has been a wake-up call for me to also ask myself, how active have I been? This platform I'm using, this spotlight mic, this mic in front of me, how effective have I used it? How have I used it to enlighten people? How have I used it to pass the right messages? How have I used it to advocate for peace, to advocate for security, to advocate for change, to advocate for positive outcomes? How have I used it? How have you used your business? How have you used your podium? How have you used whatever it is to be an active citizen? These are questions we should ask ourselves. The year is just starting. It's February, and we've had it hot in Nigeria, and we need to remind ourselves, come on, Omo, the year has not even started. It has not even gone halfway, and we are seeing this. If we don't ask the right questions now, then I wonder when. Of course, we say it's never too late, but now is also a good time for us to ask that question. So again, ask yourself the right questions. What are you doing? Hope. How are you keeping your hope active? How involved are you? It feels like the country is burning. It feels like the country is falling apart. And let's be honest, no matter how much we blame our leaders, no matter how much we call them out, no matter how much we lay the blames on them, the truth is that we need to also call ourselves out. We have not been the best citizens to govern. Even if we don't even have leaders, we have not been the best citizens. Yes, we have few people who have done their best. Nigerians, we are having it hard. It's a hard reality. But ask yourself, be honest with yourself. We haven't been the best citizens. We beat traffic lights. We ignore things in our communities. We don't know who our leaders are because we have carried that pain or that ideology that we didn't vote for them. But ask yourself, have you been a good citizen? Do you pay your taxes? Do you know how familiar are you with the Constitution? Do you even know the national anthem? Do you know the Nigerian motto? These are questions you should ask yourselves. We haven't been the best citizens. So no matter how much we call out our leaders, no matter how much we complain about them, we should also be able to ask ourselves and also complain, and also criticize or scrutinize ourselves of our roles as citizens. And that brings me to the next point of our conversation: accountability and action. Now let's get real. Real talk. We talk about corruption, we talk about incompetence and bad leadership all the time. We call out our leaders and complain, but accountability must start with us too. We need to be accountable for our actions. We need to be accountable of our roles as citizens. That way justifies us calling out our own leaders. Laws are there for a reason. You want a transparent government, start with being transparent at work. Start with being transparent at home. Start with being transparent in your role as a citizen. You want a responsible president, you want a responsible senator, you want a responsible local government chairman, you want a responsible political leader in your community. Start by being a responsible citizen. Obey the traffic lights. Report to the police where there are cases of insecurity. If they are not doing their work, find out who to report those people to. Find out what the chain of command is in the country. We need to learn to be responsible citizens. We can't demand what we don't practice. Real talk. Like I said at this point, we have to be real. Real talk. I'm going to lay it all out at this point in time. We have to be responsible. So I come again. I'm going to repeat it. Yes. Do you want transparent government? You have to start being transparent at your work and as your role as a citizen. You want a responsible president, a responsible senator, a responsible member of the House of Reps or State House of Assembly, a councillor, local government chairman. Start by being a responsible citizen. Stop littering on the streets. It's very simple things. Very, very simple things. Yes, I'm calling all of us out at this point. We can't demand what we don't practice. That's why 2026 shouldn't be about complaining. 2026 should not be all about us nagging. It should be about cultivating and building new habits. This is just February. Election is in 2027. The FCT election just finished. It's all about cultivating new habits, practicing discipline, starting with yourself, your own personal life, your ethos, building discipline, excellence, honesty. The list goes on and on. Even in our small circles, how disciplined are you? You know, how excellent are you at your work? How are you thriving? How excellent are you in your role as a citizen? You're also a leader. Remember, I even pointed it out at the beginning of the program. You're a leader. Even as a leader, are you accountable? Do you hold yourself accountable for your actions? Are you transparent in what you do? Are you honest? Are you disciplined? Ask yourself these very, very important questions. If you want a new Nigeria, it begins with your personal standard. You need to build a standard. No more complaining. No more calling out leaders. What have you done? Yes, we'll say that the environment is not there for us to thrive as young people and everything. But which one have you created? The people that have created theirs, the people that have created a platform for themselves, who did it for them? So if you want a new Nigeria, if we want a better Nigeria, it begins with our personal standard, because no nation rises above the values of its people. I repeat, no nation rises above the value of its people. And trust me, people are watching. People watch Nigeria. People are listening. Even in your homes, in your places of work, people are watching. Your colleagues, your siblings, your students, your family members, your friends, someone is learning from you every day. At the beginning of the program, I said, no matter how low you might think of yourself, you possibly someone's role model. Someone looks up to you. I look up to people. There are people who look up to me. There are people who admire my lifestyle. There are people who admire the way I do things. There are people who look up to me to do certain things that are right, or anything. People are watching. People are watching us as a nation. Individually, in our own private circles, people are watching. Our colleagues, our siblings, our children, our family members, our students, as teachers that we are. Someone is learning from us every day. So let's teach responsibility, not by speech, but by action and by good examples. Now, I know some people may be asking, okay, what about the government? What about this? Let's leave them alone. But tomorrow, you as a citizen will be a leader. Citizenship does not mean that you're just a follower or something. No. Even a leader is a citizen. So it doesn't just translate to us as people who are not in leadership political positions or political leadership positions. It covers everybody, even as Nigerian leaders. Like I said, it's active citizenship. Now we talk about faith and the heart of citizenship. I know you might be wondering why faith comes up often on this program, on this show, on the Youth Sports Live. We talk about faith in the hustle, faith in this. A lot of people listen to me talk about, I bring up the matter of faith a lot. It's because you can't separate civil life from your spiritual life. I had a podcast and I asked a friend of mine who featured on that podcast, I think the previous episode I did, and he said, I love the way he put it. First of all, I'm Catholic. So that's like the groundwork, the foundation as to how he practices or he does his things. So like I said, you can't really separate your civic life from your spiritual life. So when your values shape your choices, that's faith in action. When compassion guides your speech, that's faith in action. When integrity drives your leadership, That is faith in action. Faith is not an excuse to be passive. It's a call to be purposeful. It's a call to service. That's the truth. And maybe that's what Nigeria needs. Maybe that's what we need. Not more noises, not more complaints, not more division, but more purpose-driven living. A purpose-driven life. That's what we need. Then we'll have less insecurities. Then we'll have less kidnappings. Then we have less of leaders in political positions who are wasting away there. Whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim or a traditionalist, we are all stewards of this land. Our duty is not just to vote, but to serve, not just to speak, but to build. Not just to complain, but to also play a role in fixing. It's a deep conversation, I know. I feel it too in my soul. I feel it deep down. But what's the way forward? Looking ahead, what's the way forward? Where do we go from here? The elections have passed. Another one is coming. The headlines will fade. More will come. The promises will be tested. The new elected officials in the FCT, their promises will be tested. But the question remains, what kind of citizen will you be in 2026? I ask myself, what kind of citizen will I be in 2026 as a young Nigerian? Emphasis on the youth. This is Youth Spotlight. This is a spotlight, Mike. The light shines on young people here. This year, I want you to take ownership of your voice, of your craft, of your values, and of your nation. Take ownership. I have taken ownership, and I'll continue to take ownership of my voice, of my craft, of my work, of my values, of my nation, and of my call to service. Don't outsource responsibility to anyone. Doesn't make any sense at the end of the day. It's your work, do it. Don't wait for perfect conditions. My mother once asked, show me perfection. It's never perfect. But we have to make do and build a wonderful society based on the differences and even with the imperfections that we have. Because change doesn't begin in Aso Rock. Change does not begin in the National Assembly per se. You know, it begins in our rooms, in our resolves, in our decisions. That's where change begins. So before I wrap up this evening, before I wrap up this program, I'm speaking from the heart. I've just put it out there. I've been speaking from the heart, and I want to keep speaking from the heart. There's a lot happening in Nigeria today. Some of it is exhausting. It pains me. It breaks my heart. But on the good side, some of it is inspiring. And it's easy to lose sight of what is still beautiful. Our people, our resilience, our humor, our music, our faith. Most importantly, our shared humanity. These are the things that are important, and we shouldn't lose sight of them. So as we end February, because we are going into the last week of February, and as we look ahead, I want you to do something. Do not stop believing in this country. Do not stop believing in Nigeria. Don't stop being kind. Don't stop being excellent at your work. Don't stop being you, the good, better version of you. The part of Nigeria that still works. Because sometimes survival is success and purpose is the quiet decision to try again tomorrow. I'm Edidion Godofort. I'm the TalkSmith. This has been Youth Spotlight here on Radio Maria Nigeria 91.3 FM, Abuja Studios. And this episode doubles as the Spotlight Mic episode. So till next Sunday, stay grounded, stay grateful, and never stop shining your light. Do have a blessed, wonderful, and pleasant week ahead. God bless you.